Hello, happy Monday. Oh, my mic's on hella loud.
Oh, oops. Well, I'm sure any loudness would be an improvement from last week.
Yeah, listen, you guys, we literally batch recorded a bunch of episodes, and I don't know what the fuck happened to them. But they were
It was bad. If you heard our last episode, that was the best one.
It was so bad that we decided to scrap it.
Yeah, they were bad.
We had 4 episodes recorded. The one was bad, so we were like, no.
Well, yeah, I tried.
Redo.
I did try to save them, but
I know.
they're past the point of no return.
We were just having too much fun.
Yeah, honestly,
because we were together, we were vibing. It'd been a hot minute.
No, and that's literally what I planned on saying. I probably should have sound engineered that in any capacity while we were together.
But listen, next time we know.
Yeah, we got too hype, and it is what it is.
But we're still here to tell you this week's stories. And I'm gonna dive into it, and then I'm gonna talk about Barnes and Noble when I'm done.
Yes, please do.
Okay, well, my case this week is not a murder, but it is a Helen Doe. They're calling her.
Ooh, yeah, mine's actually maybe not a murder too. So.
Yeah. So Helen Doe, which sometimes she's referred to as Kalama Doe, or Kalama, yeah, or Cowlitz Doe, because of where she was found.
Oh, interesting.
So she died in a car accident near Kalama, Washington in 1991. Nobody knows who she is or where she came from. So May 14th, 1991, a long-haul truck driver was driving his semi on I-5 near Kalama, and then he had encountered unexpected backup of cars on the highway, which you normally wouldn't anticipate. And so
no.
Sometimes that moment where you're like, fuck, I have to slam my brakes on or slow down really fast.
Yeah, the actual
and it's
worst.
Kind of,
happened to me on my way to work today. I was driving, minding my own business, and I put my blinker on to move a lane over, and whoever, I think it was the person behind me or the person that was in the other lane just further back, they were like, oh, nope, not today, bitch. And tried to cut me off, I guess. I'm not really sure, but they almost slammed into me because I was already in the process of starting to change lanes. I had to yeet myself back into the lane I was already in.
That you said yeet, and we just taught Emerson how to say that. And so now she runs around when she's gonna throw something and she yells yeet.
Oh my god! If that's not yours and Wes's child, I don't know what is.
We thought it was so funny. Anyways, yeah. So that happened. He was not able to stop in time, so he hit another semi, and then that semi was carrying paper, which obviously is super flammable. So
I wasn't sure where you were going with obviously with the paper, and I was like, obviously what?
Obviously, it's really flammable. And the fuel tanks ruptured, so it caused a massive explosion. Witnesses came out and were trying to pull the drivers out of the truck, and one of the drivers, they were able to get out, but they couldn't get to the other guy, so he died.
Could you imagine witnessing that? I would
be
my
scarred
pants.
for life. Yeah, truly, that would be so terrible.
No, I don't think there's anything more. It's already bad enough witnessing a non-fatal car accident, or just seeing somebody impact or seeing somebody hit some inanimate object.
Absolutely.
But, oh my god. I was already tripping when you were like, oh, 2 semis collided.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I actually got hit by a semi-truck, and it was the scariest thing.
This is probably the least or most unfortunate episode to not be recording, because I'm making the best facial expressions today.
You really are. But we're both in pajamas because it's been a long day of work. So
so sorry about it.
Yeah, I will tell the story when I'm done with my story. My case.
Remind you.
Yes. So they, when the fire was pulled out, they pulled the driver out. They had to contact the trucking company to get his identification, which was, he was 26-year-old named Lester Harvell, and he was from Missouri. But what they were surprised to find was that he was not the only one in his truck.
He had a hitchhiker?
So there was a female with him, a female passenger. Yeah, I'm not really sure. So, and they don't know, and that's kind of why she's called Helen Doe. So they retrieved a body of a female passenger. She had been so badly burned that she had no ID or personal belongings that could be recovered. Her fingers had been burned off, so they could not identify her using fingerprints. When truck drivers are carrying a passenger, they are supposed to report it for insurance purposes, but he had not. So they weren't really sure. His coworker said that he often would pick up hitchhikers just to like accompany him because he was driving long haul across country.
Yes,
so
I'm sure it's truly very boring.
Yeah.
And you don't have cool true crime podcasts to listen to back then like you do now.
In the 90s, yeah, right? So other truckers who had talked to him on the radio said that he had said he was carrying a female passenger on that day, May 14th, the same day of the crash. So law enforcement determined that earlier in that day, he was in Tacoma picking up freight, and then he was supposed to drive to Oregon, to Portland, and then, but they never made it there. So they're trying to figure out who she is, but I mean, this was in 1991, and they still don't. I mean, it's 30 years later, and they don't know who she is. So the autopsy was completed on her. They said that she's most likely in her 20s, but they said she could be as young as 17. So they're saying the range is 17 to 29. They're not sure.
So, quite range.
Yes. They determined she had long, dark, straight hair and a dark complexion. Her race is not certain, but they suggest she might be Native American, Hispanic, or she's white. An examination of her bones showed that she was probably between 5 foot and 5'4" with a petite build. They said that she most likely had a narrow face with high cheekbones, which normally Native Americans are characterized by having high cheekbones, so that's probably where they would assume that.
Right.
Yeah, and so they also said she had a gap in her front bottom teeth and a root canal in her front left tooth number 9. And then she had like other specific dental like fillings in 7 different teeth, and was missing one of her molars. So that's pretty specific. If they could compare other dental records. They did say that her most recognizable feature was that she had severe scoliosis. So they say that it's possible she could have walked with a limp or a lurch. However, it could be that like she could have gotten treatment, so she might not have had that.
Right. But like the likelihood is there.
Yeah, but it said that if she hadn't already gotten treatment, that she likely would have like had to have it at some point because it was very severe.
Yeah, because like usually like they like start you on all that shit like when you're a kid to try to prevent that as you grow up.
Yes. Yeah. They said that it's not like enough to rule out other potential like matches of identifications, but it's something to be like aware of. So the next thing they did was map out Lester's route from Missouri to Tacoma. So they kind of tracked his journey using receipts. Within 1 week he traveled from Missouri to Kansas to Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and then Washington. And then he picked her up somewhere on that route.
Right.
We know that by the time he'd reached Tacoma, he did have a passenger, but they don't know at what point.
That she was picked up along the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Charles, could you not?
Charles. So, it says that there were some like witness descriptions of her that like kind of confirmed what they had been saying. She was petite with long, dark, straight hair pulled into a long ponytail. They said she had been wearing a black cowboy vest, a few rings on her finger, a gray shirt that might have had some pink on it, and dangling feather earrings. And witnesses also describe her to be Native American or Hispanic.
It's really interesting, like what like makes it and doesn't make it in a fire.
Like it really is
really interesting because it's like, oh, okay, like her fingers are burned to the point where they couldn't lift fingerprints, but like she was wearing feather earrings.
Well, they don't know that from the fire. They knew that from witness sightings. Got because they said that none of her personal belongings could be identified in the fire because of,
Gotcha. But still, my statement stands.
Yes, no, I do agree with you. It said that they did put her dental stuff into a database, but her DNA was not extracted in 1991. After a few months, the person whose body was known as identified remains was interred in a plot purchased by the trucking company.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yes.
Yeah, wow. I feel like a lot of
really
places
sad.
wouldn't do something like that.
No. Yeah, no, it is very nice.
Yeah.
So they say that now Sergeant Stacy Mowat with the Washington State Patrol looked through her case file to try to see, like, if he could figure out who she was. But in 2014, let's see, I think they extracted her body for DNA.
Oh, wow. That's going to be one of my follow-up questions if she was exhumed.
Yes. So they did exhume her for DNA, and it's cool because they thought she might be Native American. They actually had elders from Washington State's Puyallup tribe attend the exhumation, which is really cool. And they gave, like, the rights and blessings to her.
That's dope as
just in
fuck.
case. I know. I really like that. So they put it into the national database, but there's been no match. Mm-hmm. They did get a forensic artist to do a sketch, like working with her actual skull. So if I can find that picture, I'll post it. And people say that the sketch looks really similar to the woman that they thought they saw with him that day. Like they showed the witnesses. Yeah. So that's not really good.
Giant disparagement. like
yes. And then they actually, along that route, they put up her flyer.
Oh, awesome.
Because if she had been from another state, then they could try to identify her that way.
Right. Because I was going to say, like, I can't even imagine, like, how to even start that investigation. Like, where do you start? Like, do you start in Washington?
That's so
do you
difficult.
Start in Missouri?
Yeah, so they say that they have ruled out several missing persons, one of which is Tina Finley, which I covered last week.
Yep.
They also say she is not Andrea White, Martha Evans, Kelly Sims, Barbara Cotton, Emmy Ballantyne. I don't know how to say this. I think we talked about this. I will put that name in the caption.
Yes.
Or Angela Hammond. Some possibilities of who she could be are Diana Saccone, Hazel Klug, Heidi Ann Zampel, Meredith Ann Medina, or Pamela Sue Dalton. And then this person lists the person who wrote it, who's Quirky Motor on Reddit. Thank you very much. Lists out some people she could possibly be, which is really interesting. So there's also another podcast episode about this case from Washed Away podcast. But yeah, so that's really that. It's obviously super sad, and hopefully, I mean, maybe they could even like do forensic DNA genealogy now, because that's so popular.
That was at 2014 when they did the other stuff.
Yeah, they exhumed her and they have her DNA.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it's been 7 years almost, so.
But what's interesting to me is, like, I don't know. I mean, if they have people they think it could be, then why don't they just identify
people, or if they have DNA for them?
Yeah, or even like use
the family members.
Do the dental stuff comparison.
Yeah.
Because that's way cheaper than like running DNA. Yeah. I'm sure, to have like a forensic odontologist. You know,
it's one of those words, yeah.
Odontologist.
I think that's right. I think that one was the one.
That's the winner. But yeah, that's my case. So I'll put, if I can find the sketch of her, I'll put it up. And thank you to Quirky Motor for the post, because this was really helpful.
Before we jump into mine, I would love to hear your story about how you got hit by a semi-truck.
Oh, okay. So I was living in Kansas and I was going to school one day. I lived in an hour from where my school was in Wichita, and I was driving from Wichita to school, and it was foggy. It was like pretty early in the morning. Well, there's like this really long straight stretch, and somebody was pulling, like they had to stop in the middle of the highway because they were turning left, but there was oncoming traffic. So
I already hate this, like, but go on.
Yeah, so there was a big long line of cars. I'm coming down over this hill and I can see it. So I start slowing down. I'm like, okay, like, you know, that's fine. Well, I'm watching the back of my mirror, and there's a truck, like a regular truck behind me, and then there's a semi-truck behind him. Well, as this truck gets closer to me, I can see that he is not going to stop. Like,
Homeboy
he
ain't
is
slowing
just,
down.
yeah, like, I can see it, and I was like, fuck. So I pulled onto the side, like, I moved off the road onto the side of the road up so that he wouldn't rear end me.
Yeah.
Well, behind him, that semi-truck was driving too fast, and by the time he realized that everybody was freaking stopped, he had to pull onto the side of the road to avoid slamming into everybody. So I was on the side of the road because the guy behind me was about to hit me, and then the semi-truck hit me. Yeah, so I wasn't hurt. I was fine.
Right.
My car actually was only minorly damaged because I moved.
Right.
Like, as soon as I could hear him hitting me, I started to move. And then we got out of the car, and he was fucking yelling at me. Like, he was old enough to be my dad, and he was, like, screaming. I was only 19, just, like, the first car accident I'd ever been in, and he was screaming at me, and I was like, bro, this was not my fault.
My dude,
like,
you hit me.
Yeah. Not only did
Yeah.
you hit me, but he was carrying a fat, like, load. Like, he had military equipment on his truck.
Ah.
And so I'm like, you were speeding.
Yeah.
And you should have been paying more attention. Anyways, we had to call, like, the police.
Yeah.
And in Kansas, they don't have, like, they're a no-fault state. So, like, in California, if you get hit from behind, it's automatically not your fault.
Right.
In Kansas, it's not that way. So my insurance had a battle out with this dude's insurance. It was freaking stupid. And then the guy that, would have hit me, the other truck, he pulled off to make sure everything was okay. He was like this old, weird dude, fucking just whipped his dick out and started peeing in front of us.
Oh my God.
I was so uncomfortable. Yeah, I was like, okay, this is great. This is a great day. And so I actually ended up I deuced it. I didn't go to class. I didn't go to practice that day. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm, like, emotionally spent. I called my mom. It's like 6 a.m. I'm like, I got in a car accident.
So I think the moral of the story is fucking 8 a.m. class.
Yeah, absolutely. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been on the road in my shitty ass Ford Focus driving to school. Anyway, that's it. That was my story. I'm here to tell the tale. But
Wow.
yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I actually in college also got rear-ended while driving a Ford Focus.
Did you? What year was your Ford
I had a
Focus?
2007.
Oh, you're bougie. I had a 2003. It broke down all the time.
I guess I'll really quickly tell the story. So in high school, I drove for like 90% of the time I was driving my dad's old Nissan Titan because he does roofing and construction sales. So he drives big trucks, regular trucks, not semis. But he likes a big car.
Yeah.
So my first car was a 2004 Titan. So, but they were like, oh, you have all this steel around you, God forbid you get in an accident or whatever.
Yeah.
And right before senior year graduation, I was driving home from work one day because I had an after school job working at a daycare, and I was driving home and I was almost home. My fucking brakes went out. This isn't even the car crash story.
Oh God. Okay.
So
my anxiety peaked.
Yeah. So I brake. Luckily there was nobody in front of me, but my car did the whole and then finally rolled to a stop. And then I was like, oh no.
Panic.
So I get myself home. My dad was like, I was kind of worried about those brakes, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So they replaced the brakes, and then they're like, well, since you're gonna be commuting to college anyways, let's sell the truck and get you a commuter car so you don't have to spend an arm and a leg in gas. And I was like,
yeah,
sold. That absolutely makes sense.
Enter the Ford Focus.
Yeah. So I get the Ford Focus, and I drive that for a little over a year. And then, again, I was driving to work, and God, the Ford Focus was such a shit show of a car. It was,
dude, it broke down all the time.
Oh, mine didn't break down. I just kept getting in accidents. So within a month, I was on my way to school, I think, or on my way to work. I forget. The first accident, I was driving down the road, and it was in a neighborhood, and I stopped behind a car at a stop sign. The person behind me, I'm like, they're not gonna fucking stop. There's like do the same thing. Like I can see it happening, but there was nowhere for me to go because we're in a neighborhood. So I'm like, well, I'm getting hit.
Yeah.
Like
it sucks.
It is what it is. So the guy hits me, and then I hit the guy in front of me.
Yeah.
And then we all pull over, and turns out the guy that hit me didn't have insurance.
Oh, good. Of course.
But then, like, the person's, like, house we were in front of was like, I saw it all happen. Like, you motherfucker, you stay here. Like, because he was like, oh, I'll just, like, give you guys cash. And we were both like, nah. Like.
Yeah, no.
And, like,
bro.
we're calling the cops, homie. Like.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and the homeowner was like, oh, you're not fucking going anywhere. Like, I'm keeping my eyes on your ass. Like, because he was, like, trying to piece the fuck out. So because he doesn't have insurance, it takes 5 ever for it to get fixed. Like, over a month.
I'm sure, yeah.
Finally gets fixed. I have my car for, I shit you not, 2 days.
Oh my god.
And I was gonna go to class, but like it was later in the morning class. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop at Starbucks where my mom works. And and actually Jordan was working there at the time. Jordan took her.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm gonna go visit them and bug them real quick. I'm fucking turning into the Starbucks parking lot. Someone T-bones me.
Oh my god.
I had to like crawl out of my passenger seat to like get out of the car.
That's crazy. How scary.
Fucking petrifying. And it was like some like 17-year-old who like had like just gotten her license and she was like freaking the fuck out.
Oh my god, I bet.
But like, so like Jordan watched this car accident happen because he was like outside on his break and he was like, holy shit.
Oh my god. Good thing it wasn't your mom. Your mom would have that would have been terrible to watch as a mom.
Oh my god, I know. But like, you know, obviously he ran inside and was like, Jen, you'll never believe.
Oh my god.
So I had to miss class that day because I was dealing with the cops. But yeah, that was the accident that totaled my Focus.
Yeah, my stupid fucking Ford Focus, it died. Like, it died. There was no coming back. RIP, it was dead. 3 months before I was about to move to Germany.
That's so annoying.
So I was like, I needed a car to get to class, but then I was gonna, 3 months, and then I was gonna sell it. And so my parents had to help me buy a new car that they were just gonna take after I moved.
Oh my god.
So we bought a new Ford Focus, like idiots, and I loved it at first, but then it had transmission problems from the very second we bought it. And we ended up selling it to a family friend, and they had it, like, we told them that we were having issues, but it was all covered under warranty. But yeah, they still have issues with it. They're literally trash. Moral of the story: don't buy a Ford Focus.
Yeah, don't take ADM classes. Don't buy Ford Focuses.
But go to college.
Yeah, go to college.
Yeah, but don't take ADM classes.
No, and
overrated.
And don't drive there in a Ford Focus or anywhere.
Yeah. Don't commute for an hour. I mean, unless you live in California, you kind of have to, but it sucks.
Yeah, there's no choice there. Sorry about it.
Anyways, now it's your turn.
Yeah, also, I really liked how we harmonized our ums just now.
I know. It's like we're synced. I like it.
Are you also on your period right now?
Oh my god. I didn't know he was in here.
Jesus fucking Christ, that was great.
I don't have my period anymore. Okay. Anyways,
I was just joking because I just started mine. So I was like, oh, we're synced.
We're not that synced,
damn
thankfully. I don't got it no more.
Must be nice. Anywho, I have a story.
Yes, your turn. Hit it.
By a Reddit user who, I think this is my favorite Reddit username I've ever seen. This username by Deep Fried Fuck.
Oh, I like this.
I like this too.
Deep fried fuck. Listen, I'm gonna have some deep fried chicken for dinner tonight.
And you couldn't give a deep fried fuck about it.
It was leg day, so I can, I'm going.
100%. I'm about to eat some fucking Easy Mac because I still have a hangover from 2 days ago.
Getting old is not easy, my friends.
No, I'll talk about it more in the dicking off portion, but
yes,
I would like to announce that I would like to not grow up anymore just because of the severity of this hangover.
Honey, it's not good.
Anywho, this is a bizarre missing persons case that the author and also myself had never heard of until recently. And because it's weird, like, it's kind of weird that it hasn't gotten more attention because, like, usually, like, weird shit, like, makes news. So a lot of details are kind of unclear or not been made publicized. So, unfortunately, there's kind of a lot of unanswered questions in this. Nicole Fitz, she was 32, and her 2-year-old daughter Ariana were reported missing in San Francisco on April 5th of 2016. Nicole was last reported seen on April 1st. Reports of when or where she was last seen are a bit confusing. Several sources say that she was last seen or heard from leaving her home on April 1st to meet somebody that she knew, but whom she was meeting is not known. Police also believe that she traveled from her job at a Best Buy in San Francisco via the 3rd Street Metro line. I think this they mean Muni, but I think this is written by somebody not local. So, whatever. At around 9:45 that same night on April 1st, a roommate she lived with at the time seems to have confirmed that Nikki, she goes by Nikki, was last seen leaving her house to meet somebody on the night of April 1st. Ariana Fitz, meanwhile, was last confirmed seen sometime in February of 2016 in Oakland, although it's not clear by whom she was last seen. I'm going to get into that because you're like, wait a minute, I'm sorry. There's a month disconnect between the last time that her daughter was seen and the last time she was seen? That doesn't make sense. You're right.
It doesn't make sense.
So, Nikki grew up the middle child of 3 sisters raised by a single mother. She's been described as shy and naive while she was growing up, but seems to have been an incredibly kind, compassionate, and driven young woman. As a teenager, she volunteered frequently at Culver Slauson Recreational Center, and at just 15 received an award from the city of Los Angeles for her volunteer work.
That's cool.
Right? In 2012, Nikki, her younger sister Tess, and Tess's girlfriend moved into an apartment together in Pacifica, which, for everyone's edification, is like 30-ish, 45 minutes from San Francisco. Depends on the traffic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could probably take you an hour and a half. Who knows?
God, or longer.
Yep. Not much has been said about her, but at some point during this time period, Nikki had a daughter named Cindy. The 3 had a hard time affording their apartment, and when Tess and her girlfriend moved out, Nikki, who was pregnant with Ariana at this time, wound up in a women's homeless shelter, and Cindy was sent off to live with her dad. At the shelter, Nikki met and began a relationship with Lemasani Briggs, who had invited Nikki to move in with her. Nikki initially paid Briggs rent and also paid her to watch Ariana while Nikki would work. Tess claims that Briggs was taking advantage of Nikki, and eventually Briggs' nieces, Ciolo Hearn and Helena Martin, began babysitting Ariana. So basically she was like pawning the kids off on her nieces.
It's really weird.
Right.
I'd be really upset.
Fucking same. Others reportedly started begging Nikki to find arrangements for childcare outside of Briggs' family, and after Lemasani stopped watching Ariana, she raised Nikki's rent. So not only is she like pawning this kid off, she's like high-key a slumlord.
Yeah.
So, in addition to this, Nikki had never been actually given a key to the apartment and was only able to get in or out when someone else was home.
No, if she's no.
Could you fucking imagine? Like,
no.
So like I said, like she was being thoroughly taken advantage of.
Yes, absolutely. That's messed up.
Yeah, so Tess and her girlfriend say that Nikki's relationship with Lemasani quickly became very abusive, with Nikki frequently receiving abusive and accusatory text messages. In November of 2015, Tess and her girlfriend picked Nikki and Ariana up from the apartment and drove them to Santa Cruz. After Nikki left, Lemasani allegedly continued to harass her, texting her to bring my baby back here.
No.
Yeah, hard pass.
Immediately no.
For everyone else's edification, if this happens to you, call the fucking cops.
Yeah, that's not, no.
Yeah.
Nope, immediately no.
Yeah, File a police report and a restraining order. Thank you, next. So at this time, Nikki's like technically homeless again, and she's like couch surfing and commuting from Santa Cruz to the Best Buy in San Francisco where she works. And Santa Cruz is like not close to San Francisco.
Yeah, no, that's not. It's at least an hour and a half.
Oh, easy. And then like driving through the mountains and city traffic, like fuck that.
Yeah, no.
So at this time, she was in the midst of a custody battle for Cindy after CPS removed her from her father's care. And this is the child that had been sent away to live with the father at this point, like 2 years prior. So she would, so Nikki would have to go back and forth to LA for court appearances, to try to get custody of her daughter. So Nikki would leave Ariana with either Ciolo or Helena, the nieces of like the ex-girlfriend, quote unquote.
Yeah. So they were like They weren't. They were actually in a relationship.
Yeah, so Lemasani and Nikki like had dated. I don't know like really to like what extent. And at this point, it's also not clear if they were still together or if she had just moved out.
Okay.
So anyway, so the nieces are watching her while she's traveling back and forth to LA and like doing all this shit. So eventually, one of Nikki's coworkers offered her and Ariana a place to stay. So at this point, the nieces become reluctant to return Ariana to Nikki. And this is in, like, February of 2016. So this is, like, when the last reported sightings of the child are.
Okay.
So in mid-March, Nikki contacted them to pick up Ariana, only to be told that a pair had allegedly taken Ariana to Disneyland. Something that Nikki had not been told about ahead of time.
I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. Like, fuck that noise. So... during this time, like, Tess and the girlfriend say that they haven't seen Ariana since February. So it's been at least a month since they've seen their own niece.
Okay.
And it's not clear when the last time Nikki had seen her own kid was. Because they were refusing to give her back.
I would know. Yeah, that's very abusive.
Yeah. If this or something similar is happening to you, a family member or a friend, file a police report. File a restraining order. Get things involved. This is not normal. This is not good.
No.
There's other ways. Things can be worked out. Don't leave your kid with essentially strangers.
And there's help available.
Yeah, and don't take no as an answer if someone has your child hostage.
Oh, I would cut somebody.
Yeah, no, there would be lots of blood. And not mine.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that much.
No, for real.
So on April 1st, Nikki spends the evening with a coworker after work, at some point withdrawing several $100s from ATM, which she doesn't tell anyone what that money's for. Later that night, her roommate says that Nikki receives a call from somebody and leaves, claiming to be meeting somebody at a nearby restaurant and that she'd be back shortly. The roommate woke up the next morning to an empty house and received a text overnight from Nikki saying that she was headed to Fresno with a friend named Sam. Her roommate had never heard of anybody named Sam and was very confused as to what was going on because Nikki didn't have a car. And around 1:13 the next morning, the next day, Nikki posted to Facebook, quote, "Spending time with my 3-year-old, need this break," end quote. This post was odd as Nikki was reportedly fanatical about correct spelling and grammar, which, mind you, break was spelled like a car brake, not like I needed this BREAK.
Yeah.
So she was very particular about spelling and grammar, so it's a little bit weird. And also, Ariana was 2.5 and not 3, so she wouldn't have said that she was 3.
Right. Yeah, that's weird.
And then she also failed to show up for work for the next several days.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Tess and her
red flags.
Yes, all over the fucking place.
Everywhere.
So Tess and her girlfriend find out that Nikki's gone. They immediately travel to San Francisco and file a missing persons report. A gardener working in the early morning shift on April 8th at John McLaren Park noticed an odd wood board with a silver character painted on it behind some bushes and brush. Underneath this board was Nikki's body, curled in a fetal position in a shallow grave. The death was quickly ruled a homicide, though no details of specific injuries or the exact cause of death have been released. Search warrants were quickly executed for the homes of Ciolo, Helena, though there was no sign of Ariana, and police say that the sisters were very uncooperative. During the investigation, it came to light that Helena had previously served 6 years in prison after killing the father of her child at 18 years old.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helena Martin and her husband Devin, along with Ciolo Hearn, have been named persons of interest in the case.
I would say so.
Yeah. The Fitz family and Best Buy have both offered separate $10,000 rewards for information leading to Ariana being found. The Fitz case itself, along with media attention on the case, were likely hindered by what was a tumultuous year for the SFPD, which included multiple officer-involved shootings and the chief of police stepping down. In 2017, SFPD reported that they seized and searched a vehicle believed to be related to the case. Beyond that, there's been very few updates to the case in the last several years. The murder remains unsolved, and no one has been charged or arrested in the case, and little Ariana has never been found.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So, both of these are open cases being, quote-unquote, actively, worked on by the SFPD.
I would literally cut somebody.
Yeah, no, like I don't know how this went on for so long, if I'm being quite frank. I know that there's like a lot of desperation and a lot of like, I don't know what the fuck to do if you're in that situation.
Yeah.
But like, fuck.
Yeah. It's awful. I mean, I think that really goes to show that, like, for some women, like, that, for me to be able to say that, like, I would cut somebody, that I have the means and the resources to...
Right.
So that statement comes absolutely from, like, a place of privilege yeah. which she wouldn't have had, you know?
100%.
Like, she didn't even have a house. She couldn't have afforded a lawyer. She couldn't, you know? I mean, I don't know why she didn't go to the police, but maybe for some reason she didn't think that they would help her, or maybe she had some sort of issue that she knew would look bad if she went to the police and she wouldn't get help.
Yeah, and, you know... That being said, you know, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And, like, when I kind of made that comment of, like, oh, like, you know, you should definitely go to the cops or you should definitely do this. Like, you know, that is also coming from a place of privilege because, like, not everyone does feel that way. So, you know, you can take that advice for what you will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what I mean by saying, like, yes, you absolutely should. Like, be encouraged to know that that's not normal.
Right.
It's not safe and it's not healthy. So you absolutely should go to the police, but also know that there are resources for victims. Because that's what you are.
Yep. In
that situation. You're a victim of domestic abuse.
Yep.
And abuse doesn't have to be hitting. It's absolutely can be emotional. And... for example, somebody taking your child from you and not letting you know where she's at.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bonkers.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, you know, I really and truly hopefully hope in my heart of hearts that Ariana is just kind of around somewhere and just...
Yeah.
You know.
I hope so.
But, yeah.
And doesn't know.
And hopefully not been, like, trafficked or something, because that's... where my brain goes.
It sounds like, though, that they wanted the baby but didn't give a shit about Nikki.
Right. So
maybe the baby is somewhere.
Right. And so that's what I'm kind of thinking too, but, like, you know, I also have that, like, lingering thought of, like, oh, like, why did they want her?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you never know. Really.
Yeah. But
on that really big bummer of a note,
let's tick off a bit.
We've reached... Yeah, we already dicked off quite a bit.
We did, but, you know, we've had a week.
Yeah, so Jamie is coming to terms with the fact that being over 25 means hangovers last longer than a day.
Oh my fucking God. So let me just paint a picture. So Saturday, I drank a lot of wine. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't drink a lot of wine. I'm also going to sit here and say that Jell-O shots were involved. So I'm also not going to sit here and say that didn't happen. Because it did.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for my own choices. I'm a grown-ass woman. I'm fully taking responsibility for my actions.
Okay.
What I refuse to take responsibility for is a hangover that has now plagued me for 48 hours.
Listen, this is why we're recording this tonight, not yesterday.
Oh my God. Like, so Jackson and I recorded a podcast yesterday, and I think I said at least 100 times during that podcast that I'm so hungover. And I feel like ass. So,
yep.
If you'd like to hear more about my hangover and how much like ass I felt, especially yesterday, you can listen to this episode of Why Do You Like This that drops on Thursday.
Yeah, there you go.
We talk about Blade 2.
Nice. Never watched it.
Honestly, you might dig it.
It's not my... I don't think it's my jam.
I didn't think it was going to be my jam either. But, like, it was a lot of fun.
I'll look into it. I'm not going to say I'll put it on my list, but I'll look into it. Maybe.
I want to say it was watchable on HBO.
Oh, I did that.
I'll say what you do have through my Hulu.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Otherwise, it was on Paramount, which I can also get you a login for that. So.
Yes, please. You want to know why I'm so excited is because the new season of Younger is coming out on the 15th on Paramount Plus, and your girl has to watch it.
Oh, well, then in that case, when we're done with this, remind me, and I'll give you that login info.
Send it. Send it. Listen, Hilary Duff, love her. If you have not watched Younger,
I haven't. I was like, I don't know what
watch
you're
it.
talking about.
It's so good. So, like, I'm not really, like, I really like shows that are crime shows or, like, doctor shows, like, drama. But
Yeah.
Younger is so good. I love it so much.
I'll have to give that a go.
Oh, my God. Have you watched the new Law & Order with Elliot Stabler?
No, not yet. Is it, like, everything?
Everything. Listen, though, I made the mistake. They had a premiere, and it's a crossover premiere. The first episode, I watched them out of order.
Oh.
The first episode is, I can't remember which one did I watch first. Okay, so the first one I think is on Law & Order SVU, and then the second one is actually, like, on the SVU Organized Crime or whatever, or Law & Order.
Whatever they call
Organized
it.
Crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, okay.
Just double check it
Google
because
it
I
first.
watched it out of order. So I watched the first one second, and I was like, this makes so much more sense. I was so confused.
Oh my god, that's actually hella
But
funny.
listen, you get Olivia and Elliot in the same screen, and I'm just happy
I fucks
about
with
it.
I
love them.
fucks with it.
I want them to be together, but I know they won't be.
Oh, because it's.
But
the
I
universe
want
is
them
cruel.
to be. It's just like, I know, it's terrible. Anyways, yeah, so that was pretty exciting. I was pretty excited about that. What else?
I finally finished that book. I think I mentioned it like a few weeks ago. Know My Name by Chanel Miller. It is the rape victim of Brock Turner. She wrote a book. So kind of like the whole deal is like they called her Emily Doe throughout the whole process. Like they actually like told her like specifically like not to say her name until like the trial happened and she was like her own witness. And she was like, she had like, I don't want to like get into the whole deal too much because it's a very fabulous book. I think honestly think everyone should read it or listen to it. Fat trigger warning for sexual assault.
Right.
But
And if you don't like to listen about stupid fucking white boys named Brock Turner only getting 6 months for raping somebody, then you know that too.
well, the book's actually mostly about like her and her journey with it. So like they literally only talk about him for like as much context as you need, and then basically for her to say like fuck the legal system and fuck this judge.
Fuck that judge. You know he got recalled.
Yes, he did. She talks about that in the book
Fuck
too.
yeah.
It's very good. Oh, but she talks about how like she during the whole trial period like had like two like full identities. Like she was Chanel in her personal life, and then was like Emily when it had to do with the trial and everything.
That's so
Zach just got home from
Charles.
but yeah, so it was really interesting to kind of see like her perspective on that, and then also like talk about like basically like from the first-hand perspective like how it is to be in the legal system and in like a sexual assault case.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And
Yeah, that sounds
like she was like
sounds like
definitely super recommend it. And
did you listen or read?
I listened to it on Audible, and she does her own audiobook.
Yes.
And I think I mentioned this last time. Like her cadence is kind of slow, so I definitely bumped it up to like almost 1.5 speed. So like I think it's like originally like a 15-hour book, but I got through it in a lot shorter because
You sped it
up. But like you can listen to it sped up and it doesn't sound like chipmunky.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's just because of the cadence of her voice. And she has a great voice, so.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds that I'm gonna actually write it down. Well, you're gonna send it to me so I can put it in the episode notes, and then I'll write it down.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Well, I have to go eat some fried chicken.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go say hi to my husband now.
Oh,
I know.
well, thanks, y'all. We'll get recaught back up after our sound fiasco. We had like a whole month's worth of episodes out.
Yeah, so now we have to fucking start from square one.
Oh, well,
cool.
that's fine.
It's cool.
We also, I'm just not feeling any of the true crime stuff that's been out for a recap, so.
Actually,
yeah,
you know what I started watching
that.
on HBO that is actually very good, and I meant to talk to you about this like off air, but now here we are. I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the series.
Okay.
That just
I'm
dropped.
here for that. Okay, listen, send me your HBO password and I'll get to work on that. We can do that for a recap.
Sold to the highest bidder.
Okay. Ding ding.
Alrighty.
Well, enjoy y'all's Monday night.
Yes.
We'll catch you next week.
Adios.
Bye.